Hey, hey, hey. Here we are then for another little bit of The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Tonight we are reading chapter 11, The Nest of the Missel Thrush. I didn't even know there was a certain thrush called a Missel thrush. I've heard them called song thrush before, all sorts of thrush I've come across before, but never Missel thrush. Let's find out whether the Missel thrush has a nest in Mary's secret garden, shall we? Here we go. For 2 or 3 minutes he stood looking around him while Mary watched him, and then he began to walk about softly, even more lightly than Mary had walked the first time she'd found herself inside those 4 walls. His eyes seemed to be taking in everything. The grey trees with the grey creepers climbing over them and hanging from their branches, the tangle on the wall and among the grass, the evergreen alcoves with the stone seats and tall flower urns standing in them. "I never thought I'd see this place," he said at last in a whisper. Did you know about it?" asked Mary. She had spoken aloud and made a sign to her. And he had made a sign to her, sorry. "Oh, no, we must talk low," he said, "or someone will hear us and they'll wonder what's to do in here." "Oh, I forgot," said Mary, feeling frightened and putting her hand quickly against her mouth. "Did you know about the garden?" she asked again when she had recovered herself. Dickon nodded. "Martha told me there was one as no one ever went inside. Us used to wonder what it was like." He stopped and looked around at the lovely grey tangle about him, and his round eyes looked strangely happy. Nests as'll be here come springtime," he said. "It'd be the safest nesting place in England. No one ever come in near, and tangles of trees and roses to build in. I wonder all birds on moor don't build in here." Mistress Mary put her hand on his arm again without knowing it. "Will there be roses?" she whispered. "Can you tell? I thought perhaps they were all dead." No, not them, not all of them," he answered. "Look here." He stepped over to the nearest tree, an old one with grey lichen all over its bark, but upholding a curtain of tangled sprays and branches. He took a thick knife out of his pocket and opened one of its blades. "There's lots of dead wood as ought to be cut out, and there's a lot of old wood, but it made some new wood last year. This here's a new bit," and he touched a shoot which looked brownish green instead of hard, dry grey. Mary touched it herself in an eager, reverent way. "That one," she said, is that one quite alive? Quite?" Dickon curved his wide, smiling mouth. "It's as wick as you or me," he said, and Mary remembered that Martha told her that wick meant alive or lively. "I'm glad it's wick," she cried out in her whisper. "I want them all to be wick. Let's go round the garden and count how many wick ones there are." She quite panted with eagerness, and Dickon was as eager as she was. They went from tree to tree and from bush to bush. Dickon carried his knife in his hand and showed her things which she thought wonderful. "They're run wild," he said, "but strongest ones has fair thrived on it. The delicatest ones has died out, but others are growed and spread till there's a wonder. See here," and he pulled down a thick, grey, dry-looking branch. "A body might think this were dead wood, but I don't believe it is. Down to root, I'll cut it low and down and see." He knelt and with his knife cut the lifeless-looking branch through, not far above the earth. "There," he said exultantly. "I told thee so. There's green in that wood yet. Look at it." Mary was down on her knees before he spoke, gazing with all her might. "When it looks a bit greenish and juicy like that, it's wick. When the inside is dry and breaks easy, like this here piece I've cut off, it's done for." There's a big root here as all this live wood sprung out of it, and if the old wood's cut off and it's dug round and took care of, there'll be... He stopped and lifted his face to look up at the climbing and hanging sprays about him. There'll be a fountain of roses here by summer. They went from bush to bush and from tree to tree. He was very strong and clever with his knife and knew how to cut the dry and dead wood away and could tell when an unpromising bough or twig had still got green life in it. In the course of half an hour, Mary thought she could tell too, and when he cut through a lifeless-looking branch, she would cry out joyfully under her breath when she caught sight of the least shade of moist green. The spade and hoe and fork were very useful. He showed her how to use the fork while he dug about the roots with the spade and stirred the earth and let the air in. They were working industriously round one of the biggest standard roses when he caught sight of something which made him utter an exclamation of surprise. "Why!" he cried, pointing to the grass a few feet away. "Who did that?" It was one of Mary's own little clearings around the pale green points. "I did it." "Why, I thought that didn't know nothing about gardening," he exclaimed. "I don't," she answered, but they were so little and the grass was so thick and strong and they looked as if they had no room to breathe, so I made a place for them. I don't even know what they are." Dickon went and knelt down by them, smiling his wide smile. "That was right. A gardener couldn't have told thee better. They'll grow now like Jack's beanstalk. They're crocuses and snowdrops, and these here is narcissuses," turning to another patch. And here's daffodillies. Hey, this will be a sight." He ran from one clearing to another. "Tha's done a lot of work for such a little wench," he said, looking her over. "I'm growing fatter," said Mary, "and I'm growing stronger. I used always to be tired. When I dig, I'm not tired at all. I like to smell the earth when it's turned up." "Oh, it's rare good for thee," he said, nodding his head wisely. "There's nowt as nice as smell of good clean earth, except the smell of fresh growing things when rain falls on 'em. I get out on t' moor many a day when it's raining, and I lie under a bush and listen to soft swish of drops on heather, and I just sniff and sniff. My nose end fair quivers like a rabbit's, my mother says." Do you ever catch a cold?" inquired Mary, gazing at him wonderingly. She'd never seen such a funny boy, or such a nice one. "Not me," he said, grinning. "I never catched cold since I were born. I weren't brought up nesh enough. I've chased about more in all weathers, same as rabbits does. Mother says I've sniffed too much fresh air for 12 year to be getting a sniffing with a cold. I'm as tough as a whitethorn knobstick." He was working all the time he was talking, and Mary was following him and helping him with her fork or the trowel. "There's a lot of work to do round here," he said once, looking about quite exultantly. "Will you come again and help me do it?" Mary begged. I'm sure I can help too. I can dig and pull up weeds, and I'll do whatever you tell me. Oh, do come again, Dickon." "I'll come every day if thou wants me, rain or shine," he answered stoutly. "It's best fun I ever had in my life, shut in here and waking up a garden." If you will come," said Mary, "if you will help me to make it alive, I don't know what I'll do," she ended helplessly. "What could you do for a boy like that?" "I'll tell thee what thou'll do," said Dickon with his happy grin. "Thou'll get fat, and thou'll get as hungry as young fox, and thou'll learn how to talk to robins same as I do. We're going to have a lot of fun." He began to walk about, looking up in the trees and at the walls and bushes with a thoughtful expression. "I wouldn't want to make it look like a gardener's garden, all clipped and spick and span, would you?" he said. "It's nicer like this, with things running wild and swinging and catching hold of each other." "Don't let us make it tidy," said Mary anxiously. "It wouldn't seem like a secret garden if it was tidy." Dickon stood rubbing his rusty red head with a rather puzzled look. "It's a secret garden, sure enough, but seems like someone besides Robin must have been in it since it was shut up 10 years ago. But the door was locked and the key was buried, said Mary. Nobody could get in. That's true, he said. It's a strange place. Seems to me as if there'd been a bit of pruning done here and there later than 10 years ago. But how could it have been done? Said Mary. He was examining a branch of standard rose and he shook his head. Aye. How could it be done with door locked and key buried? Mistress Mary always felt that however many years she lived, she could never forget that first morning when her garden began to grow. Of course, it did seem to begin to grow for her that morning. When Dickon began to clear places to plant seeds, she remembered what Basil had sung at her when he wanted to tease her. Are there any flowers that look like bells? She inquired. Lilies at Valleys does, he answered, digging away with the trowel. And there's Canterbury bells and campanulas. Let us plant some, said Mary. There's lilies at Valley here already, I saw 'em. They'll have growed too close and we'll have to separate 'em, but there's plenty. The other ones take 2 years to bloom from seed, but I can bring you some bits of plants from our cottage garden. Why does thou want them? Then Mary told him about Basil and his brothers and sisters in India, and of how she had hated them, and of their calling her Mistress Mary quite contrary. They used to dance round and sing at me. They sang, Mistress Mary quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and marigolds all in a row. I just remembered it, and it made me wonder if there were really flowers like silver bells. She frowned a little and gave her trowel a rather spiteful dig into the earth. I wasn't as contrary as they were. But Dickon laughed. He said, and as he crumpled the rich black soil, she saw he was sniffing up the scent of it. There don't seem to be no need for no one to be contrary when there's flowers and such like and such lots of friendly wild things running about making homes for themselves, or building nests and singing and whistling, does there? Mary, kneeling by him holding the seeds, looked at him and stopped frowning. Dickon, you are as nice as Martha said you were. I like you, and you make the 5th person. I never thought I should like 5 people. Dickon sat up on his heels as Martha did when she was polishing the grate. He did look funny and delightful, Mary thought, with his round blue eyes and red cheeks and happy-looking turned-up nose. Only 5 folks that thou likes? Who's the other 4? Your mother and Martha, Mary checked them off on her fingers, and the Robin and Ben Weatherstaff. Dickon laughed so that he was obliged to stifle the sound by putting his arm over his mouth. I know thou thinks I'm a strange lad, he said, but I think that the strangest little lass I ever saw. Then Mary did a strange thing. She leaned forward and asked him a question she'd never dreamed of asking anyone before. And she tried to do it in Yorkshire, because that was his language, and in India her servants were always pleased if you knew their speech. Does thou like me? She said. He answered heartily. That I does. I likes thee wonderful, and so does Robin, I believe. That's 2 then, said Mary. That's 2 for me. And then they began to work harder than ever and more joyful. Mary was startled and sorry when she heard the big clock in the courtyard strike the hour of her midday dinner. I shall have to go, she said mournfully. And you will have to go too, won't you? Dickon grinned. My dinner's easy to carry about with me, he said. Mother always let me put a bit of something in my pocket. He picked up his coat from the grass and brought out of a lumpy little bundle tied up in quite a clean, coarse blue and white handkerchief. It held 2 thick pieces of bread with a slice of something laid between them. It's oftenest nowt but bread, he said, but I've got a fine slice of fat bacon with it today. Mary thought it looked a strange dinner, but he seemed really to enjoy it. Run on and get thy victuals. I'll be done with mine first. I'll get some more work done before I start back home. He sat down with his back against a tree. I'll call the robin up, he said, and give him a rind of bacon to peck at. They like a bit of fat, wonderful. Mary could scarcely bear to leave him. Suddenly it seemed as if he might be a sort of wood fairy who might be gone when she came back into the garden again. He seemed too good to be true. She went slowly halfway to the door in the wall, and then she stopped and went back. Whatever happens, you won't tell, will you? She said. His poppy-coloured cheeks were distended with his first big bite of bread and bacon, but he managed to smile encouragingly. If thou was a Missel thrush and showed me where thy nest was, does thou think I'd tell anyone? No me, he said. Thou as safe as a Missel thrush. And she was quite sure that she was. There you go. That was chapter 11. I'll tell you what, all the way through that is getting close to that time of year where I might either need to record a little bit earlier or close the curtains and get the big light on, because if I put my screen on properly, all I can see is the reflection in my glasses. So I have to turn the screen down, but then I can't see anything. Oh my goodness. I'm back to work as well very, very soon, so I don't know what time I'll be coming up here to record. Oh my goodness, this time of year comes around so fast, doesn't it? How are you all? I hope you're all okay. It's been one of those funny days today. Always the weather always gets a bit like this before the kids and the teachers go back to school in September. It's like it's been a bit rainy. It's really, really hot. I'm absolutely soaking with sweat sitting up here, but outside is really gloomy. What strange weather we have on the slippery slope to the new academic year. We don't start off high. The new academic year is the base of the slippery slope. That's a teacher's viewpoint. Anyway, I hopefully we'll see you all again tomorrow. If I don't see you tomorrow, I'll see you the next day for chapter 12. Chapter 12, I haven't told you, have I, is called Might I Have a Bit of Earth? There you go. Maybe Mary's going to smell it.